The BBC started broadcasting about 85 years ago, and I think personally that because the technology made it possible to broadcast around the world, that's what they did. It also was a powerful tool for bringing the empire and the colonies into contact with London, and it sort of linked the world in that sense.
We have enormous influence, as does the BBC, as do other broadcasters and other newspapers, to, in their use of English language services, understand that, for every 3 words we use in a script, there are many of our audience only understand one. And what does that tell you about information flow? What does that tell you about communication? It tells you that we have to, be scrupulously responsible as we broadcast around the world.
Through all our training and our style books, we emphasize really heavily the need for simplicity and clarity. But I think the really important dimension to it is kind of trying to understand where the audience is coming from so that you don't make assumptions about their understanding. I think it's always very tempting to assume that everybody in the world knows who Shakespeare is and what Western classical music is and so on. People don't. You can be really, really well educated and not necessarily know the same things as somebody in another country. And that cultural element, I think, is the key to it.
I think the English language, wherever it's utilized, is evolving the whole time. It's an animal, a creature that changes. It's not a static use of English language. My briefings here to staff here and in Europe and Asia simply remind them over and over and over again that, for example, we should not be excitable in our delivery of the language. We should not be animated in our delivery of the use of English. We should always pause up in our script writing and understand that audiences around the world, may not know what this means. Classic example, 2 weeks ago, I had to take a producer to task here for using a phrase, it was a political phrase, taking it to the woodshed. Now, I actually don't know what taking it to the woodshed means in America. I think it means that you remonstrate with people or you take it back for a reworking. It means nothing in Europe. It means nothing in Asia. So constantly we're poring over scripts to analyze as best we can in a breaking news machine the use of the language, the precise use of the language.
It is the same basic English that the entire BBC World Service uses. We don't make any differences or try to use different words. It's just keeping things simple, as any other broadcaster would do. I know that there are words that we try and avoid, words like reiterate. It is considered by all broadcasters that it's not a good broadcast word. So you either use repeat or stress rather than reiterate. But nothing special for an African audience. It's the same English you would hear if you were in America or Asia or even Europe.
One of the reasons why the BBC is so successful is because we're an English-speaking country and we broadcast around the world in English. It's a massive asset because English is, first of all, a widespread language, but secondly, because people see it as a commercial asset to be able to speak English.
English is very, very important for a continent that has a variety of languages: French, English, Portuguese, Arabic, Swahili, and other local African languages. And English serves to be a kind of aggregate language, an international language that most people, the majority of the people, even if they speak French, will aspire to speak. So English is a very dominant language to use in reaching a lot of listeners across Africa.
We broadcast in English and 42 other languages, and the other languages range from really quite modest, half an hour a day type programs to quite substantial broadcasters in their own right. I mean, the Arabic service is on air for much of the day, but it also has a very significant web presence, and it's a major force in the Arab world. And in between, you've got gradations of that. What I think you've got is increasingly you see the BBC World Service as being not just multimedia, the web, radio, and so on, but also multilingual. And in a particular part of the world, you can see that that's a tremendous, gives us tremendous influence.
We're developing local language versions of CNN with partners or without partners, wherever it's appropriate. We have, an array of services to deliver the CNN product to pagers and to phones. as well as the conventional television and the conventional radio. So the vision is not untainted now. The vision is still to keep sort of, boldly going where many people are going now. We have plenty of competition out there, different competition in different parts of the world, all the time trying to add patina to a brand which is truly international, not just as a US brand now.